Hello, coaches. Welcome back to another episode of Coach Better Spotlight. My name is Kim Cafino, and I've worked with hundreds of teachers, coaches, and leaders in schools around the world through my courses, consulting, mentoring, and membership to help them create thriving and sustainable instructional coaching programs. And I'm on a mission to help you coach better. Wherever you are in your coaching journey, we can support you. Are you ready to take your next step? Get a tailored list of resources designed specifically for your experience level to help you coach better today. Take our free quiz at coachbetter.tv/quiz to get started. Today, I'm chatting with Elin, Kelsey, and Ivy Yan. I had the great privilege of meeting Elin and Ivy at the NISA Fall Leadership Conference last year, and they were so inspiring. I wanted to share that inspiration with all of you. Elin is an author, researcher, and leader in the solutions-focused environmental and climate justice movement. Her mission is to spread wild, contagious hope. Ivy is an experiential learning designer and facilitator advocating for the happiness and well-being of human beings and nature as a whole. Together, they bring so much joy, hope, and happiness to their work. It is truly contagious. In this spotlight, we're talking about what teachers and students need to survive and thrive in challenging times. On the full-length audio podcast, we also talk about the ways emotions are contagious and how we as educators and coaches can bring hope into our school contexts, how the world works in cycles and seasons, and how important it is for us to understand what season we're in and how we can recognize that within our school communities, the importance of breaks, of being in nature, of being vulnerable and recognizing the ways we need to find space and time to heal, why emotions are important even when we're talking about facts, how we're connected and how important embracing that connection is, and how and why we need to be shifting that narrative to one of hope. To listen to the full-length podcast episode, subscribe to Coach Better wherever you get your podcasts. This episode is a grounding for the start of the season and the start of the academic year. We are living through challenging times and times of significant change. We can face this experience with doom and gloom and helplessness, or as Elin and Ivy highlight today, we can choose hope. I hope this episode inspires you to think about whatever challenges you may be facing, including a brand new school year, with hope, connection, and community. As you listen to this episode, please think about all the different places and ways you can be in community with others. It can be in person in your geographic location, or you can build community in other spaces. If you're still looking for your community, I hope you'll find it here with Coach Better. And if you want to dig deeper into the ways we can be connected all year round, we have lots of options for you at the end of the episode. Before we begin with today's episode, I want to let you know that you can find all the ways to connect with me via my website, my social media, and all of my courses, books, and resources in the description for this episode. You can also find the show notes for today's episode and all of our resources for instructional coaches on our website at coachbetter.tv. Okay, let's jump into the episode with Elin and Ivy. So everything I'm hearing is telling me that we can't feel disempowered or disheartened by the time that we need to rest and regenerate, and that nature teaches us that these cycles are part of our lives, and we have to have these times. Maybe we don't have to, but we have these times when things are either dying or colliding, and those times feel stressful and terrible. But after that comes this opportunity, like Elin, you were saying, where we can feel vulnerable enough to reevaluate our previous thinking. And that sometimes comes after this like challenging time, or maybe the challenging time and then the restful time, and then we feel vulnerable again. I kind of feel like that's like kind of what I'm hearing. So I want to ask you another question, which is, when you think about these cycles and these following the flow of the earth, like Ivy is pointing out, and looking at nature as our example and recognizing that we are nature in schools, how can we bring this kind of cycle of, and I'm getting to coaching here, like this reflective practice that allows us to take space, to pause, to see what's happening so that we can be vulnerable to reevaluate and re-examine what our next steps might be. Like if we're taking these cues from nature and we're trying to find that space where we can reinfect each other with hope, how can we bring that into our practice as educators, leaders, and students?
I think a really critical starting point is just to recognize that we are incredibly emotional species. We are emotional, and to really welcome that. Like a lot of the work that has been done in education around issues of the environment or sustainability or climate tends to talk about the science of it as if it's a content only issue. And yet we have tremendous feelings about all of that, and often many feelings at the same time. So I think it's important to know that one can be hopeful and really pissed off at the same time, that our anger at the injustice of something is empowering just as our hopefulness when I see others alongside, So I think this welcoming. So there are a number of resources available online now, much more than there ever used to be, about how to create safe spaces for sharing of emotions in classrooms, or at the beginning of meetings, or just those kind of emotional check-ins with ourselves and each other, and really saying all emotions are valuable to us. They all carry wisdom. So it's not that you have to, hopefulness is not about being cheerful or about being, light. I think that's toxic positivity. I think hopefulness is actually extremely hard to do in a societal norm globally around doomism. It's actually, I've now come to believe it's a conscious choice. I take a stance of hope. I choose to take the stance of hope because I know it's the most empowering thing I can choose to do. And then what I've discovered in my life and others I've doing this with is that when you choose to be hopeful, then you have to actively look for things that are moving in the directions we need more of. And the more you do that, the more you're well informed and able to advance those things. So that's quite empowering. And the more you actually start to feel hopeful. So the choice to be hopeful for me starts it. And then the feelings come. And so that means even when I feel helpless, I am choosing my stance to be hopeful. So I think it can be creating safe spaces to feel whatever we feel, and also making conscious decisions about what stance. And this is like, how do I hold myself in the way that I'm approaching the world? And that is a powerful thing in my experience, because otherwise, I'm kind of blowing around depending on what news story I just took in, or what's doom scrolling I've been doing on the internet. I'm a victim of that. Whereas if I've decided this stance is the one I'm sticking with, then it really is a powerful thing to do, and hard work. And it doesn't mean that I don't allow myself, if I feel overwhelmed by something and just like flattened, I give myself that time to feel that, but it doesn't waver me from my stance. I don't waver from that stance. Yeah. Ivy, what do you think about that? How a class or a coaching could be shaped?
Yeah. I would, encourage people to go outside, to be outside, to start with fresh mind, as if we are observing nature for the first time. And to be honest, I feel many of these issues are caused by the huge distance between our human life and the rest of the planet. We are not connected, although we are fundamentally connected. Even just now, the air that we take in allow us to speak to each other, right? And even the Zoom technology, the energy powers it, everything. But these facts are invisible to us. And we already have enough scientific knowledge, evidence to know that, yet we don't see it. So I think, my one of my background is deep ecology. And then, in deep ecology, the real emphasis is on, yes, we know about these facts about, certain species, the ecosystem, but it doesn't solve the question or give answer to the question, how shall we be with it? So it's all about relationship. And I think, if there is no relationship, we just don't care. We won't care if there is no relationship. And also just having a relationship is not enough. So the college I studied a few years ago, called Schumacher College, it really advocates for education, for sustainability, for eco worldview. And its pedagogy is all about falling in love with the earth and falling in love with the earth again. And the founder, Satish Kumar, he always said, what is your question? Love is the answer. And so simple yet so true. Yes, love is the answer to all the problems, crises, challenges we are facing right now. And if we don't know about our planet, right? If we don't know where we live, our surroundings, the local, plants, the local flowers, the food we eat, it has to start from this very micro level, super, super personal, super, super micro level. Yet this, small particles, they connect to the universal level. I think, that's a way it works. And it really needs to be embodied. Our five senses, like what do you smell in this air, in this season? And what do you taste? What do you touch? What do you see? They have to come from real life experience. And I feel like our education at the moment is too much focused on the head, on the cognitive. So I don't think kids nowadays, they lack knowledge. They know what's going on, right? What they don't feel is that embodied feeling of what's happening out there. Like when you see plastic floating in the ocean, you really feel that pain, right? And also, when you go out to the ocean, when you feel the warmth of the water on your body, you feel real joy. And we need all that, right? And nature gives us all that. And even just walking around in your compound, you see flowers come in different shapes and colors, and they are the earth smiling to us through those flowers. So I really feel, and this is what the framework of deep ecology is. Always start from deep experience, constant experience, experience on a regular basis, so that we can, discover and observe the small changes. And that's how we develop our relationship and reverence for life. And if we don't do that, we learn about the actions, what we should do only in the classroom, in the meeting room, in the conference room. I don't think it will take us too far. It just simply won't provide us the inner, the outer, capacities, the senses to face what we are facing right now. We need to really come back, to our bodies, this very amazing body. And I think this body also tells us about our ecological self. And I feel like, we are very much stuck in this constructed, like artificially constructed self, right? Like our culture, our identity, what we consume, what school we go to, the job, all these artificial labels, our artificial identities. Yet, how much do we know about the animal side of us, right? Like the body intelligence. We need to rest. We need to eat a little bit less of this kind of food because our food just doesn't like it, right? And this all comes from very intuitive, ecological side of us. And if we can discover more of that, I think we will also discover more of that aspect of our earth. And also, like Elin said, our emotional connection. And I would add a little bit more about the spiritual connection. So, this physical ecology, this, emotional ecology and spiritual ecology. This is where I'm most interested in. But, something very funny about our earth, the nature is all these levels, they are all interconnected. If you see like a plant being super resilient, growing under the sun, it also can give us tremendous sun energy. For example, like lemongrass, right? It's very common in Southeast Asian cuisine. Why is that? Because we live in such a humid, temperature. And this plant, it stays really well in that kind of condition. So it also benefits people who live in that kind of condition. So it's all interconnected, right? And then what we can learn spiritually from lemongrass is the resilience, its connection, sun, and the life force and all that. So it's all interconnected, and we need to maybe pick an entry point that fits where we are mostly. So if I'm more an emotional person, maybe I start from the emotional side. If I'm more interested in the spiritual side, then I start with that. And this, I think, we need to think about where our students are, and they are all so different. And so as educators, we also need to have the skillful means to offer, more personalized approach to our students, to invite them fall in love again with our beautiful earth and themselves, the beautiful being.
Thanks for watching this clip with Elin and Ivy. I hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. If you've been listening to the podcast or subscribed to the YouTube channel for a while, you know that I had a really stressful year last academic year. Lucky for me, this episode was recorded in the middle of that year, so the timing was perfect. I walked away from this conversation feeling lighter, like I had a new perspective and appreciation for things that I hadn't considered before. I knew that's exactly what would happen from this conversation with Elin and Ivy, so I feel so grateful to have had it with them. What I really took away from this conversation is that we can consciously choose to coach in the direction that we want to see, for ourselves, for our students, for our colleagues, and for our schools. This is another one of the ways that coaches can be informal leaders in their school communities. Because we work with so many different people in so many different settings, we have the opportunity to plant seeds, to shift perspectives, to change the narrative. We can use our coaching skills and relationships for hope, community, and connection. If you're looking to connect with others around coaching while you're building your coaching skills alongside the development of your coaching program, we are right in the middle of registration for the 10th global cohort of the Coach Certificate and Mentorship Program. The Coach is our academic year-long course and global community designed for instructional coaches or educators who are ready to build a thriving coaching program and deepen their coaching practice. The Coach is unique because we support the development of your practice at the micro and the macro level. We dive deep into your coaching practice at the micro level to help you upskill from wherever you are today. The program is highly differentiated for all levels of coaching experience. And we unpack the development of a coaching program from the macro level so you can see how to make coaching thrive sustainably in your school setting. That's because in the Coach, we work through the Thrive model for sustainable instructional coaching. So you're focused on building a coaching culture within your school while you're developing your coaching practice as an individual coach. We use the 3 phases of the Thrive model: clarity, consistency, and community, to help you reflect on your practice and program from the micro and macro lens with a systems view to ensure you're building sustainability from the start. This program is truly personalized because we know that you're coming to the coach with your own experience and expertise and your own needs for your unique school setting. So wherever you are in your coaching journey, we can support you in taking the next step forward. Plus, inside our private community, you'll learn with a global cohort of coaches from schools around the world, so you can see how coaching really works in other schools and build your network of coaches. Our global cohort of the coach opens only once a year, and if you're listening or watching as this episode airs, it's happening right now. Get all the details at edurolearning.com/coach. And if you missed it for this year, you can join the waitlist at edurolearning.com/coach. If you've made an intention to develop your coaching practice or your coaching program this year, the coach will support you in taking your next step. Head over to edurolearning.com/coach to get all the details before registration for this cohort closes. Wherever you are in your coaching journey, we can support you. If this episode resonated with you and you'd like a transcript, you can find that along with all of our other resources for instructional coaches on our website at coachbetter.tv. The show notes for today's episode is linked in the description. If you're curious right now, if this episode inspired you and you'd like to talk about it, please reach out. You can leave a comment down below or on the show notes on our website at coachbetter.tv. You can join our Coach Better Facebook group, or you can find me on social media at Eduro Learning and send me a DM. I'd love to support you on your coaching journey. See you next time.